Okay, so like I was saying, Cloud Cowork is part of ChatGPT. It's a desktop version of ChatGPT that you can use to work on your computer. And for you to use it, you need to have a paid subscription, at least the Pro plan, which is about $20 a month. When you have subscribed, when you have set up the $20 a month in ChatGPT, you can now have access to Cloud Code. Once you click it, you can download, it will show you the option to download for Windows or to download for Mac OS. You go on, download it and install it. It's quite easy to install, and it will prompt you to sign in with your ChatGPT account. Once you do that, you will see an icon like this on your taskbar. You can easily right-click and make sure you pin it to your taskbar so that you don't need to open it from your start menu all the time. Once that is done, you can now open the window. On the window, you will see the main chart, and there are other items in the sidebar. If you've used Cloud Cowork, it's almost similar, at least for the things that it can do. So the new chart starts with a new conversation with Codex. So here you can start with a new topic or a new task or a question. It's similar to what you have in ChatGPT. So you can say, help me write a report on about last month's sales, and it can do it for you. When you are on Codex and you want to, like here is saying, ask Codex anything, and you see this @ sign. So this @ sign is if you want to reference a specific tool or specific file in your computer, you can use the @ sign. It can show you the list of plugins or spreadsheets on your computer. So you can now use the @ sign to reference any tool or any file in your computer or your computer. Then what else do we have here? I'm just trying to go through all the features around here. Then we now do a test run. So when you want to chat and you want to add a new file to your chat, you can click on this plus button. It will tell you to add photos or files from your computer. Then it's more of giving Codex context for it to now perform the task that you give it in the message bar. Now, depending on how you want to work, you can toggle this plan mode on or leave it off. If you toggle it on, for every task that you give Codex, it has to plan it out first. If not, if it's off, Codex can go ahead and start working on it without planning. However, it's for complex work, it's always good for you to let it, put it on plan mode. Then you also have your plugins, which we'll look at later. But plugins, different from Cloud Code, plugin is more for the tools that you can give Codex access to. So you can give it access to your documents, Word documents, spreadsheets, presentations, Excel, GitHub. We'll see the plugins later, and there are quite a lot of them that you can connect. In Cloud Cowork, they call plugins a group of skills. In Codex, it's more of the tool. So that's the difference. Now, if you look at default permission, this is pertaining to the file to find access on your computer. Now, it's important to note here that Codex has access to your file, to the files on your computer. Now, if you leave it at full access, now Codex has full access over your computer, and although they put this disclaimer, elevated risk, why they put it is that Codex can now edit any document on your computer or delete any file, but there are some guardrails even built inside Codex that it will never delete anything. Even in Cloud Cowork, it always asks you, even if you put it on full access. But there are also additional layers that you can do. When you go to system instructions, you can tell it, do not delete any file unless you verify from me first. Now, you can also do auto review first. So here, Codex can run commands and review on elevated requests. So it may confirm before it does a lot of things for you, and default permissions. So this is kind of setting permissions on how Cloud Codex can do work for you. Then you can also select the models and the speed. So you have low, medium, and extra high intelligence. When you want Codex to think for long. Now, the latest GPT model is 5.5, but you can select lower models, which are relatively cheaper than 5.5. And you can also select other lower models here. If you are doing a very simple task, you can use the lower models, but if it's a complex task, you can use 5.5 and also set it at low intelligence, medium, or high. So these are, as you keep playing around with the settings, you figure out how much you can do with your $20 per month plan. Most times you would want to dictate or speak to Claude Code instead of typing all the time. So you can use the microphone button to do that. Then once you give it an instruction, you can now click send. So what we do normally is to give Codex access to a particular folder. Remember, we said that Codex can have access to your whole computer, but the best way I use Codex is to actually, or even Claude Code, is to give it a specific file in my computer and just make sure that that is where it works. So for example, I have this Codex file that I have on my documents folder. Anything I want to do, I'll put that information there and Codex can now have access to it. So you can also set up new projects and create new file for it. There are two ways you can work on Codex. You can use the new chat to work on anything, give it a folder to work on, or you can create projects. So projects are where you group, if you have group of, you can group tasks or activities together. Let's say you are working on a marketing project. You just create a new folder for marketing or a new project for marketing so that any marketing information like social media and flyers, lead generation, all those kind of things, everything you work on it in the marketing folder, and you can give specific instructions for that particular folder. So that way you can organize your work well instead of using new chats all the time for the same category or the same type of work. But having access to your computer is what makes this AI agent stand out. Before we would need to upload documents on Claude Web or ChatGPT Web. But now, and when you upload it, you know that if it's sensitive data, there is a problem with that. And maybe you're not even comfortable uploading your materials to the cloud. But now, because it works on your computer, on the files on your computer, it's actually more protected and they do not take your information away from your computer. So that is why at this point, for my students, I always advise them to now use these desktop versions because they are a lot protected. And secondly, because they can use the terminal on your computer, they can actually do a lot of things that they can't do on the web. So if the search bar is also very good, so if you've been working on things or if you've given access to documents and your projects grow and your charts grow, you can easily use the search to search for specific things. It's very good in finding information or where you stopped in a chart. You can find that particular chart for you. Then you have this side button here. If you are working on a chart, you can actually start in a conversation still within your chart, but not moving out, a side conversation. So you can do that by, let's say you don't want to interrupt Codex when he's working on something, you can now open a new file and even open your browser. So if you're working on something, you can just click browser and Codex will have its own browser. It's very good when you want Codex to take action on the browser for you. Okay. That is it. Now, what is this? So this is also some connections that you can have. You can connect to include the Codex. Codex typically was originally for software developers. But what this Anthropic and OpenAI found out was that developers started using Codex and Claude Code initially to do other tasks, other document-related tasks or other business tasks, and they now created the desktop versions. So they created these desktop versions out of things that they saw that people were using these tools for. So while it can do code very well, it can also work on other tasks for you. So if we look at the plugins, we can see the different plugins that you can connect to Codex. So you can do Hugging Face, GitHub. So these are more of software development tools or technical tools. But Sorry, there are other things like SendGrid, Canva, Figma, Agent for videos, Remotion for videos and images again for marketers. Then you have your documents, Gmail, Google Calendar, SharePoint, Teams. So you can connect it to all this and it can do work for you around it. You also have your skills where you can, these are internal skills or that Codex has, but you can also create your skill. So if you want to create your skill, you can create a skill or create a plugin. So if you have a tool that is not listed in the plugin, you can actually create an MCP server. And it's very easy. You can just ask Codex how to do that and you connect with it. And also if you create a skill. One of the popular ways to create skills is if you are working on a task and you keep going back and forth in the conversation. Let's say you want to generate, you want to write a proposal. As you work on the proposal and tailor it to the way if you like it, after you've gotten your final product or document, you can now say, use this conversation to create a skill so that the next time you have that kind of proposal, you just tell Codex to use that skill to create the new proposal. So skills are reusable. Okay, then the final one is automations. So this is where you can now schedule, like we said, we have event triggers and we have time triggers. But most of these tools, they still work with time triggers, which is scheduling activities. So you can create a new automation and tell it to run at specific times. So for example, if I have, I can say new automation and I will say, every summarize my email daily and generate a report in Word or professionally formatted Word document, highlighting important unread emails, and also categorizing them in priority, in high, medium, and low priority. So what this does is that once you've connected your email to Codex through plugin and you give it this kind of task, every day it will generate a report on your email. You can now select a project that you should work on. I can still select my Codex. Because I want it to give me emails that I've missed or unread, I would probably typically select late in the night, let's say 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock after the day, so that if there is any email I missed during the day, it will now highlight it and categorize them in order of priorities. I can say, let's say 8:45 p.m. Then you give it a name, let's say email agent. You can also use a template to do this, but then you create. So what this will do that every 8 o'clock p.m., 8:45 p.m., it will go and review your emails. This is actually very good for people that have a lot of emails daily. I know, so one of the clients we work with, they get about 300 emails a day. So we set up this kind of automations for them that would run every day and categorize the unread emails and tell them which ones are important, which one they should follow. I actually went ahead to now organize and assign jobs based on those emails to their team. So you can do that, and I will just delete this. When you create an agent, you can run it immediately to test if it works before you leave it to be running on schedule. This email agent is a very easy setup, but like I said, whatever you can do on your computer, AI agents can do it for you. So one of the examples that we would try now is something I've just tried to create, where I will go to projects and create a new project and say use from existing folder. Let me select. So I have this existing folder, and I'll say tender skills. No, I'll just give it existing folder is I can say tender skills. I want this, okay? So I've given it, this is a new project, right? And I can rename the project. Instead of tender skills, I will say tender agent. Now, this is just me working with my folder. So what I want to do here is, if I open these tender skills, let me show you what is inside them. So what I want to do with this tender skill is that I want to automate tendering and submitting tenders every day. And I've worked with Codex, and we actually were able to generate different skills because I do tenders. I know we worked on generating the different skills. So the first thing we will do is to use the skills, search and plan. It will go online and search for tenders for me, draft the tenders, do risk assessment, method statements, grant responses, financial forecasts, everything. So what I would need to do is just to give it a little bit of information about my company, so document, and tell it to execute this. So I can run this. I can run this now, or set up an automation to do this. So let's see how we can do that. Let me go and get. Okay, I hope I have my company profile in this computer. Okay, so I will just copy my tender, my company profile there, so that it has access to this. This is giving it more context. So if you remember what we did, this is the context I'm giving it. These are the skills that I've given it. If the skills grow, I may now bundle all these skills as a plugin so that it's not too much, but it doesn't matter. I can still leave it as skills. Now, the next thing I will do is either work every day. I will just prompt it to do this search for me, or I can go to automation and set up a new automation for this tender project. So if I go here, I will name the automation tender agent again. And I'm not sure what to write. So this is one of the things about this chatbot. If you're not sure about anything, just ask it. I know what to write, but I want to use this as an example. Let's say I don't know the best prompt to use. And just to remind you, or to mention something else, the best way to write prompts is to ask AI to write it for you. But there are very, very good ways to write prompts, which we'll cover maybe in a later, one of these, maybe in a future webinar that we do. And we have about 8 minutes now. So what I will do is go back to the project, and why is it not opening? Okay, now, okay, I'll go to new chat, and okay, it's standard agent, right? It's a bit different from Cowork, because Cowork will open each project for you. Okay, so I'll tell it review. Normally, people like to be polite with AI, but being polite with AI, writing page takes up credit, so it's not necessary actually. I don't know if they've given it consciousness, which will make it start taking it serious. But I'll just say review the documents and write an instruction that I will use to set up an automation for this tender process. So it will now go and review the file. So let me just close this browser. We'll try out the browser shortly. So yes, sometimes it's good to read how your AI agents actually thinking through the work they are doing. I know in Claude Cowork, you can see the thought process on the right sidebar. And they've also enabled, they are bringing out a feature that can help you download the thinking process of these agents. So it's reading through the file, and instead of me trying to, so it will write the tender process automation instruction for me. So what the tender process should do is typically every day at 9 o'clock in the morning, it should crawl the web and find opportunities relevant to my business. I told it to find 5 opportunities, go through those requirements in those opportunities, look at my documents, and write the proposals or apply for those tenders. If they are looking for the several documents, it should create all the documents. If they have a form, it should download the form and fill the form for me so that I will review. So every day, I know that I have 3 proposals to send. Okay, so it has done it, and I will open it. So it's saying, yep, okay. So it's giving it a long instruction, which, if I'm to be honest, I wouldn't have written this kind of lengthy instruction, but I'm trusting that the AI agent knows what he wrote. And because we are on time, we have time limits, I'm not going to read it in depth. Normally, what I would do is to take my time to read it, but even if I don't read it, if I check one output, if it's not okay, I will now rework it. So I would give it a name, tender agent, assuming that this has given it. Okay, so when automation runs, complete these steps, search for relevant, blah, blah, blah. For each opportunity, produce such short opportunity summary, including all these things. So for each opportunity, it will do this. So what I will do, I will select my tender agent. Now, I will select a new. So you can select an existing project, or you can. So let me select existing project because it's still the tender agent project. Now I will say run, let me say 10 a.m. every day. So it will run 10 a.m. So I'll create it. Now every day it will run like this. But what I will do is to give it a run. I can now test this to see if it works. So it will now show you that it is working. Okay. While it's working, I can take any question.